best of 7 about to get underway. There's Reed, there's James, and the first takeoff of this series.
Off the steal, here is George, all the way for the stuff.
James, that was a tough shot. Kimber attacks the rim. Hill in rhythm, rattles home a 3. A little back and forth between Eric Spoelstra and Dwayne Wade. Miami needs something to ignite them. James attacking Barbosa. Bang, and a bucket for LeBron. It is Wade, a 3 in the lead.
Wade, ready play from Wade. Hibbert against Anthony. Oh, nice lefty hook from Hibbert. And every time it looks like Miami's going to put this one away, the Pacers hit a shot. Wade to the basket. Count it, and a foul. Miami wins 3 in a row to take the series in 6 games. They were tested, they were challenged, but they emerged victorious once again. And the Miami Heat going back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, they meet again, and memories of hard fouls, bloodshed, choke signs, insubordination, all returning. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals is here. We'll take you there. Welcome to Game Time alongside Dennis Scott and Greg Anthony. I'm Vince Giolini, and I see it this way, guys. It's really very simple. Miami has what the Pacers want. The Pacers want it. Miami's like this. Well, come on and get it. Come get it. It's right here for you.
And all those things you said to set things up, are you going to reflect back what happened last year? And Indiana had that 2-1 lead, looked like they had things under control. Then LeBron James hit that switch and reminded everybody how good he is in rallying. Of course, they won that series. So it's going to be anxious who can keep their emotions under control to win this series.
That's a great point. I think the emotions will play a role. And also, you know, we talked all season, and everybody, the things you'd point at with Miami in terms of the issues as to whether or not they can repeat, you know, the lack of size on the interior. Could they compete on the defensive backboard? Now they're going to face a team that has, I think, the ability to hurt them in those areas, and they have a special player. Chicago didn't have Derrick Rose. They have Paul George, who is rapidly becoming a superstar in this league, and they also have guys who can score with their back to the basket. So I want to see how that dynamic plays out as well.
Right, and many felt that Indiana was the team best suited to maybe dethrone Miami. We'll see. It gets underway. All right, coverage starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT, and I think you know the background story. Indiana took 2 of 3 during the regular season. The Pacers won both at Bankers Life. And look at these numbers, and it shows you the Pacer calling card, their defense, up against one of the top offensive attacks in basketball and the guy in LBJ. So 2 big changes for Miami, though, in this playoff go-around. 1, a healthy Chris Bosh. 2, a not-so-healthy Dwayne Wade, who earlier today gave us an update on his troublesome right knee, and that's where we start.
Just picking my spots, man, and doing, just getting out of myself and doing what it takes, to win the game. Not forcing a lot of things. When I feel great, I'm attack. When I don't, I know how to be a team player and give of myself for other guys.
Our physicality, I think, manifests itself mostly on the offensive end. How we play offensive basketball with our bigs pounding the post, relentless on the offensive glass, and our perimeter players being relentless drivers, attacking the rim, trying to live at the free throw line. Defensively, we want to make them feel us, and we want to be in their face, but the goal, our number 1 goal defensively is keep them off the free throw line. Free throw shot is the highest offensive efficiency rating shot in the game. So giving teams free throw attempts is unintelligent defensive basketball.
We always know we're a different team in the playoffs, but if you can take anything away from those 3 games, is we have to rebound the ball better. We've been talking about that all year. That's going to be a major challenge that faces us this series. But the thing I love about this group is that we answer the call each time, and if we need to do something, we get it done.
And with that, we welcome in from Miami a friend of Game Time, Ira Winderman of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, their fine beat writer. And Ira, I got a 2-parter for you on Wade.
Sure.
First, his knee, including the report back in the previous series against the Bulls in the clincher. He had to tape his kneecap back into place in order to get back on the floor.
Actually, it's interesting, Vince. He had to tape it out of place. The problem was if his knee is straight on, it rubs against this special brace he has. So what he's doing is, and this sort of freaks me out a little because I didn't know he could be double jointed on a kneecap. He actually has it pulled to the side so there's no friction directly with the brace he's wearing. So I guess he's double jointed knee-wise, which is good for him, but it just shows you the lengths he's going to. You're not going to see 100% Dwayne Wade. We know that already.
Right, impressive nonetheless, whether it's center or off center. And Ira, listen, I got to call you out. These are your words as appearing in the South Florida Sun-Sentinel regarding the two-guard matchup with Lance Stevenson and Dwayne Wade. You said the reality, at least to this point, Lance Stevenson on his best day is not the player Dwayne Wade is on his most pedestrian of days. You went Frank Vogel with the bulletin board material.
I will go with that for this reason. If we still think of Dwayne as a mid-20-point scorer, remember, that's what he was this year, top 10 in the league in scoring. Look, I think that Lance Stevenson had a terrific game against the Knicks to close him out. But really, when you look at Lance's numbers, you expect those from healthy Dwayne Wade in every game. So the question is, in this series, is Dwayne going to be less than average Dwayne Wade? And unfortunately, I think there's a chance that might be the case.
Well, I wrote some good things there, and like Vince just said, it's good bulletin board material. So with that being said, the Birdman is part of this team. How important is he going to be coming off the bench, rebounding, blocking shots, and all his energy he brings to the table?
I mean, absolutely. Remember, Birdman played in that loss on February 1st against the Pacers. The Heat then won 27 in a row after. Birdman was just here for 2 weeks. His length will make a difference. He can match up with Hibbert. He can help him with the rebounds. He was terrific in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And that's why there's no baseline for this series. Last year, when you look at Heat Pacers, so much has changed. Paul George, Lance Stevenson, much bigger roles, no Granger. But look at the Heat this year. You're putting in Chris Bosh, you're putting in Ray Allen, and you're putting in Birdman. There's almost no basis of comparison either to last season's playoffs or this season's first 2 games before the Heat hit the stride that has them winning 45 of their last 48 games.
Wow, Ira. I mean, I don't even know why we should have them play this series. We should just go ahead and anoint the Miami Heat the Eastern Conference champs and get on to the finals.
You need programming, guys.
Are there any injury concerns with the Miami Heat outside of Dwayne Wade? Are there any areas of concern from a physical standpoint? I know they've had a lot of rest over the course of the postseason thus far, but they have not been tested physically the way that the Pacers probably are going to test them, although Chicago at times did step up and provide some excitement.
You know, I've never listed a player as sort of questionable / rust. But that's the issue in this game. We all remember that opener against the Bulls. The Heat were terrible at the start, really struggled, didn't have anything at the finish, ran out of gas. That series, they had 7 days off coming in. This one, they have the extra time coming in 6 days. It makes a difference, and Eric Spoelstra changed everything. He had them practicing here on the main court this week, which he never does during the season because he just didn't want them going to the practice court as if it was just another day off of training camp drudgery. So he had all that going on. Rust is the real issue. The fact is that the Pacers, they've had time off also, but they've been into the battle more. Let's face it, when the Heat went up 2-1, 3-1 against the Bulls, they got in their comfort zone. So to me, it really comes down to rest versus rust, and we'll see where the Heat stands. We'll know that early.
Well, Ira, you set me up perfect for my next question. Is there any concern about the intensity? Because a lot of people talk about rust versus rest, but with that rest, you lose some of that edge, some of that intensity.
Absolutely.
Any concern there?
You know, I think what saved them is, and I love the man, is crazy Frank Vogel. Because his confidence in his team, the way he is speaking about how self-assured we can win this series, they're just the next opponent for us. We've all heard LeBron's comments about that coming back the other way. I think Frank Vogel woke them up to a degree. I think they feel disrespected. They're not just the next opponent. They're the defending champions. Even we heard Tom Thibodeau in the previous round, and the round before that we heard the Bucks and what they were talking about the same way, that you have to dethrone the champion. So you know Eric Spoelstra has put that up on bulletin boards that, hey guys, starting now, according to Frank Vogel, you're one of 29 teams. I think that gets their attention.
Ira, how much did Chicago prepare the Miami Heat for really anyone who was next? I mean, getting through that, the physicality, and really the battle, the fight that the Bulls showed in that series.
You know, it's really interesting because I'm not saying they're the same player by any stretch. But when you go from Carlos Boozer and Joakim Noah to Hibbert and David West, you have similarities there. You have the big rebounding center. You have the creative, offensive, bulky, sort of hulking power forward. So I think that was a really good test for the Heat. They also got some Nate Robinson, which is a little bit of DJ Augustine. The one thing they're facing different here is, look, Jimmy Butler was terrific playing 48 minutes every night. but he's not Paul George. That's the upgrade in this series. If LeBron thought he had it tough, now he has a upper-level two-way player in Paul George. That's the difference between Heat Bulls and Heat Pacers. So, yeah, the Pacers might actually win a few games.
Ira, I appreciate your time, your honesty, your candor. Here's a little free advice. You might want to get a food taster when the series shifts to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful up there, but right now I'm just going to readjust my knees and see if I'm double knee jointed also.
You know what?
So thank you, fellas.
That's a good idea. We'll do that. Thanks, Ira, for the time. Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Guys.
All right. Now time to jumpstart your game. Fueled by Gatorade.
Love it, Ira. Love it.
And Dennis, with a focus on Chris Bosh, has some unfinished business in this series against the Pacers.
Yeah, well, I think for Bosh, he has to make open shots. Why is that? That gets Hibbert away from the lane so LeBron James and D-Wade and the rest of the guards can penetrate and cause havoc. Must defend Hibbert. Early in the game, if he's matched up against him, you shouldn't have to double-team Hibbert like Mike Woodson had to do against the Knicks in a couple of those games. Will they cross-match? Wait and see. And last but not least, he must be a double-double guy. He must be a double-figure rebounder more than anything. I know he's going to score. They're going to find him. But we know the Heat struggle to rebound at times. Bosh has to get in there and mix it up. If he's guarding David West or if he's guarding Hibbert, whoever it is, he has to be a double-figure rebound throughout this whole series if they want to win it.
And, Greg, one of the things you pointed out is the turnover battle, how big that will be in a lot of ways for Indiana.
It's been one of the strengths for Miami all season long, their ability to turn you over and get in transition, to get those easy baskets. And the Pacers have really struggled in the postseason with their efficiency in terms of taking care of the basketball. And they haven't been hurt to a degree that they will be in this series because of the Heat's ability at the 2 and 3 with LeBron and obviously Dwayne Wade. Those guys are great playmakers. Whereas with New York, J.R. Smith and Carmelo are more shot takers. These guys are going to create opportunities for others. And if they get it going defensively and turning over the Pacers, a team that does struggle to score at times, that's when you have to give an edge to the Miami Heat.
And it's funny, with all these great stars on the Miami Heat, including the big three, it seems to a lot of it comes back to the Birdman. I mean, are we overstating his importance on this team?
No, we were talking about this earlier. The Birdman is like middle relief in baseball. Like, he's a guy that he eats up minutes for them at that center position, which allows everybody else to go to a position of comfort. You know, he's going to be able to defend the paint, which is critical with Hibbert. Hibbert's not just like Joakim Noah. Hibbert can score consistently with his back to the basket. Right. You saw that in the Knicks series against a pretty good defender in Tyson Chandler. Okay, so he's going to be able to do that. He can also control the defensive backboard, which is one of the areas of concern for the Heat. And then also his shot blocking ability. That's going to be critical because the more minutes he plays, the less minutes that you have Bosh and LeBron and Dwayne having to bang and also change their games in terms of having to focus on that backboard. So he's critical to their success, not statistically, but in his ability to eat up minutes and put other guys out there in those positions where they can be comfortable. We always talk about basketball, you want your guys to be able to play to their strengths, not to their weaknesses. When the Heat go small in a series like this, now you're going to be asking guys to maybe do things that they don't do as well. Chris Anderson really solidifies that front line for them. So if he can play 26, 28, 30 minutes a night, those are less minutes that those other guys have to do the little things.
And the middle relievers will get you to the closer.
That's right.
At the end, and that closer wears number 6.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, for the most part. And the Miami depth. This is another thing we've talked about, Dennis, leading up to this series. And it may not be who you think it is that will be a real difference maker for the Heat in this series.
I think the bench or the intangibles we talk about may be the biggest key because we know LeBron and the big three, they're going to force their will on this game. But when you look at East bench, Mike Miller, Rashard Lewis, James Jones, any of those guys could catch hot any given night. When you look at Indiana's bench, you don't see that. Maybe DJ Augustine could catch hot, knock down a few shots. Norris Cole, Rashard Lewis. I mean, Mike Miller showed us last year in the playoffs. Him making them threes got them over the hump. So the question is, now you have Shane Battier. He hadn't caught fire yet. I think that may be the biggest difference when you get to both of these teams. You get down the stretch, if it's a close game, you start double-teaming LeBron or you start shrinking the lane. We know Miami Heat will share the basketball and find open shots.